Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Fiction Network. Anti-Japanese War. Overwhelming understanding. Starting from railway flying tiger, Su Yue crossed the parallel period of the anti-Japanese war and became a military industry expert, returning from studying abroad, acquire an incredible insight system and begin to comprehend the path of counterattack and resistance from the structure of the 38 grade cover, understand the top sniper shooter, and high-voltage defense grid. From the structure of the old socket, I have come to understand the Type 81 submachine gun, RPG rocket launcher, and 107 rocket launcher, understanding the Stinger air defense missile and long-range rocket launcher from the 88mm Anti Aircraft ArtilleryJ-8 fighter jet, avant-garde anti-aircraft missiles, Type 99A tanks, cruise missiles under the rebellious nature of the Soviet Union and Vietnam. The anti-Japanese war evolved into a rabbit muscle showLao Hong. There's Xiao Su here, a guerrilla who fartsLi Yunlong. Captain, bring Su Yue over and I will go and tie up the Emperor XiaoriEagle Sauce. The Eastern Lion has awakened and shouldn't have let Su Yue go back, thenMao Xiong. Seeking technology, seeking support, the camel exclaimed. The rabbit's weapons are of good quality, affordable, and contain high technology. They are selling at a high price. Su Yue was very calm. I'm not Edison or Leonardo da Vinci, I just have a billion-point high intelligence. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Crossing Time and Becoming an International Student with Eagle Sauce. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In 1939, Yan'an Base Area. After receiving a top-secret telegram, the head of the headquarters immediately issue a top-secret order. Notify comrades on the railway front to spare no expense and fully respond to the entry of Soviet Vietnam into the base area. On the train heading to Zhuozhuang, the tracks clanked. Su Yue looked at the old-fashioned leather briefcase and notebook on the desk, still in a daze. He remembers very clearly. Half an hour ago, he was dreaming of Zhougong on the Beijing-Shanghai high-speed railway. After waking up, he appeared on this old-fashioned coal-burning train. I shouldn't have come to a parallel world, right? Su Yue looked out the window at the desolate and barren village. Inject memories into his mind and tell him. Now is the period of the anti-Japanese war in 1939. And the timeline of this world seems to be somewhat different, with characters from TV dramas such as Railway Flying Tiger, Bright Sword, 100 Regiments Battle, Snow Leopard, etc. also interspersed in it. He traveled through this era, also known as Su Yue. He is a military industry expert who has returned from studying abroad in Yingjiang. His father, Su Huaihai, was a wealthy overseas Chinese in Yingjiang and also a leader of overseas Chinese who supported the domestic anti-Japanese war. The purpose of sending him back to China this time is to join the 8th Route Army and support the domestic resistance war. Su Yue did not resist this task. Before crossing the border, although he was a well-known social animal, he was also a member of the Communist Party with prominent roots. I also grew up watching anti-Japanese war films from a young age and hated the cruel behavior of the Japanese. What can I do in this era with the knowledge I have acquired as a social animal? What can we do for our party? Su Yue couldn't help but smile bitterly in his heart. At this moment, a mysterious voice suddenly rang out in my mind. Activate the super intelligence system, which enables the host to quickly master technological knowledge such as chemistry, mechanics, biology, combat, military, and more. A supercognitive system. Su Yue's heart twitched. I flipped through the briefcase files in my hand. Based on the memories of this lifetime. The files in the briefcase were all from his father, who put in a lot of effort. The light weapon blueprints obtained from Eagle Sauce are all encrypted. The first blueprint is a Springfield rifle modeled after the Mauser style in Eagle Sauce. This type of rifle is now considered obsolete. After all, the late World War II was a world of automated weapons. The ammunition carrying capacity is only 8 rounds, and it is also easy to pinch fingers when loading. The only commendable feature is the ability to shoot continuously, eliminating the hassle of manual shelling. Considering the relatively weak industrial foundation of the 8th Route Army today, it's just right. But after scanning this blueprint, Su Yue's mind became enlightened. The M1 Gailander semi-automatic rifle gradually appeared in his mind. You are triggered to comprehend by the Mauser rifle. Understanding triggers deduction and shaping. Understand the new M1 Garand semi-automatic sniper rifle. The specifications and models of the parts belonging to the M1 Gailander semi-automatic rifle came to his mind. The M1 Garand rifle. Sniper M1C/M1D was a sniper rifle produced in late World War II to meet Eagle Sauce requirements. In addition to the standard rifle, the main derivative of the M1 Garand rifle is the sniper type, which was widely used during the Stick Wars. It has advantages such as lightweight and good shooting accuracy. More importantly, this firearm features ease of maintenance and reliability. Although it is slightly inferior to later semi-automatic rifles. But it's already much stronger than the Japanese .38 Great Cap. As for the production of the entire set of firearms, it won't be too difficult. After all, even family workshops like those on the Pakistani border can produce it. There is no reason why one cannot do it on their own. If we can obtain a complete set of stamping equipment, we can start small-scale production. Just as Su Yue was immersed in the structural data of firearms, a smiling chubby old man stopped in front of him. The old man was chubby and dressed in a heavy dispatcher's coat. On his thick face, he had a Li's nose and a strong smell of alcohol emanating from his body. "Do you mind if I sit here for a while?" The old man smiled and pulled out a box of cigarettes. Seeing the old man wearing the clothes of a flight attendant, Su Yue was suddenly startled in his heart. Quietly put away the blueprint in hand. With a piercing sound, the old man lit a match and lit the cigarette in his hand. After taking 2 fierce thrusts, he scanned the firearm blueprint in front of him, and his turbid eyes flashed with a gleam of light. After a moment, the old man casually took out a few matches and pieced together a pattern on the table. Seeing this pattern, Su Yue felt slightly nervous in her heart. The old flight attendant in front of me is here to meet him. Although he had already had a plan in mind, he still felt a bit excited. After all, whether in the past or present life, this is my first time doing underground party connections. Without any hesitation, Su Yue picked up the matches on the table and arranged them in another pattern. "My surname is Wang and my name is Wang Chang. I am a dispatcher at Zhaozhuang Station." The old man with a nose full of wine squinted his eyes and a glimmer of brilliance flashed. "You can just call me Lao Wang too. Do you know Nanawan?" "I know." Su Yue felt his throat dry and said, "Shanbei is better than Jiangnan. Pingchuan rice is fragrant, and fatty ducks are everywhere in the pond. There are crops everywhere, and cows and sheep everywhere." Listening to Su Yue's secret code, a hint of excitement flashed in old Wang's eyes. "Comrade Xiao Su, you have finally arrived," he said slowly. "I didn't expect you to be so young either. I thought you had to be an old comrade this time. Uncle Wang, how is the situation now?" Su Yue lowered his voice and asked, "When we arrived, the train to the base area was blocked. I originally planned to detour from Zhaozhuang to the base area." Old Wang put his hand into his arms and said solemnly, "Now the devils are sweeping around. The devils in Zhaozhuang have received news that the station is heavily blocked. However, after arriving at the station, a good person has been arranged to pick them up." "What important secrets do you have in this bag?" "There are only some gun blueprints inside, as well as overseas Chinese donation accounts." Su Yue pushed the briefcase to him and said, "It's all encrypted, you can decipher it by returning to the base area. As for the rest, it's all with me." He raised his hand and lightly tapped his temples. "Qingming outing and happy reading." Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Encountering the Japanese. You are listening at novel full.audio. Old Wang's head became solemn. He immediately understood the importance of Su Yue. I understand, don't worry, I will definitely cover your way out. Old Wang solemnly took the briefcase and stuffed it into the hidden pocket of his coat. Come with me, I'll give you some adjustments first. Su Yue immediately followed Old Wang to the restroom. Old Wang's methods are very sophisticated and meticulous. In just a moment, I was originally a cultured and refined Eagle Sauce international student. Just turn into a messy street wanderer. At this moment, his supernatural intelligence was once again activated. You have gained insights from makeup changing techniques and advanced facial contouring techniques. Looking at the tattered cotton jacket sleeves on his body, Su Yue couldn't help but smile bitterly in his heart. I need another whip in my hand. That's a safe shepherd. Amidst Old Wang's cautious admonitions, the train made a piercing sound. Subsequently, the huge carriage slowly stopped on the platform. Old Wang took a deep breath and said, "We're at the place." A group of Japanese military police quickly rushed into the carriage and began to search one by one. Old Wang suddenly patted his sleeve, signaling him not to move around. Don't worry, the main force of the devils has been diverted by Captain Hong and his team. Old Wang said calmly, there won't be too many devils searched today. A group of Japanese military police quickly rushed into the carriage and began to investigate one by one. Old Wang was obviously familiar with these Japanese constabulary soldiers and stepped forward to offer a cigarette. After passing a few words with a smile on his face, several Japanese military police officers staggered Su Yue. The tattered sheepskin cotton jacket that Lao Wangtu got from somewhere was not only dirty and indistinguishable, but also emitted a strange smell. Su Yue pulled up the sleeves of his tattered cotton jacket without any guidance. He also pretended to wipe his nose. After the Japanese military police withdrew, Old Wang quickly led Su Yue towards the station. At first, the two of them kept a distance and walked one in front of the other. But as the road became sparsely populated, Old Wangtu and Su Yue gradually came together. The two quickly rushed towards the distant shantytown. Old Wang, where are you going? A mournful voice suddenly came from behind. Su Yue's heart thumped for a moment. I saw a tall and thin Japanese lieutenant leading 7 or 8 Japanese soldiers. Walked towards him with a displeased expression. This Japanese lieutenant's Chinese pronunciation is very stiff, like two blades fluttering. Oh, isn't this Nagao Morita? Old Wang immediately nodded and bowed, saying with a silly expression, this is my nephew. He has come all the way from his hometown to join me. Su Yue also put on a silly appearance and was kicked by Old Wang too. He gave Lieutenant Morita a silly smile. Is it your nephew? Lieutenant Morita squinted his eyes. Suddenly, a playful smile appeared. Reaching out and grabbing Su Yue's palm, he flipped it over and said, it's delicate and tender, and there's not even a cocoon on my hand. Hi, there's nothing I can do. Our family is just like this, spoiled and spoiled from a young age. Old Wang laughed and said, well, my younger sister from my hometown will be sent over to see the world with me. To see the world with you. Lieutenant Morita squinted his eyes and suddenly grinned, Old Wang, do you really think I'm stupid? Or do you think I don't know you're an insider for the Flying Tigers? Su Yue's heart suddenly startled. You. Sir, you have wronged me. Old Wang twisted his plump body and laughed, saying, how could I possibly be an insider of the Flying Tigers? You're not wronging me. No need to install it anymore. Lieutenant Morita revealed the teasing of the old cat playing with mice. Old Wang, I was planning to get rid of you earlier. But due to information from the intelligence agency, I have been keeping you, just to intercept this talented student from Eagle Sauce today. Before he could finish speaking, Old Wang suddenly rushed over with an arrow. A black hole in the muzzle has been pressed against Morita's throat. All the Japanese soldiers present suddenly became confused. No one expected the messy and greasy old king to dare to take action directly. A loud clatter of bolts rang out, and all the devils raised their 3 or 8 lids at them. "Don't move. Don't even move. Be careful of my gun catching fire." Old Wang let out a low growl and said, "My nephew, after I arrived, I shot him." Su Yue immediately came behind Old Wang. I casually took off Morita's 8 box from his waist and aimed it at Morita's head. The cold handle of the gun was held in my hand, and a strange feeling reached my palm. Su Yue immediately mastered the internal structure of this king's 8 box. Obtain the Southern Type 14 pistol and understand the structure of the Type 54 pistol. Upon hearing these prompts, Su Yue felt a bit overwhelmed with tears and laughter. When is this special? Is your cognitive system reliable or not? Old Wang held Lieutenant Morita's neck and kept retreating, squinting his eyes and saying, "Don't even move." After taking a few steps back, Old Wang made a trigger-pulling gesture to Su Yue. Su Yueming knew what Old Wang too meant, and his palms were slightly sweating. This is his first time killing someone in his life. Then, Old Wang suddenly took out a dark object from his hand and threw it out. "It's a grenade. Lie down." The originally tense Japanese instinctively lay down. Su Yue's heart exploded and without hesitation, he aimed a shot at Morita's head. The bullet passed through Morita's head and flew out from the center of his eyebrows, lifting Morita's spiritual cover. Exploding his brain and blood, Lao Wang was covered in it. Old Wang didn't care about being covered in plasma, so he grabbed Su Yue and ran backwards. This old king looks greasy and bloated, but he runs very quickly. Dragging Su Yue with all his might, he rushed out of the shantytown more than 10 meters away. This is where the families of railway workers live. During the sprint, Su Yue saw Old Wang's gun fall to the ground. "Uncle Wang, your gun has dropped." "Nonsense, that's a fake gun." Old Wang gasped heavily and said, "Do you think the Japanese are not on guard against me?" Su Yue suddenly understood that he was lurking under the nose of the devils. If Old Wang had a gun in his hand, he might have been exposed long ago. From behind came 7 or 8 devils, furious and shouting strangely. As he spoke, Old Wang pulled Su Yue and turned left and right to come to the back of the wooden house. Dig out 2 hand grenades from the ground. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. The first poison gas bomb in winter, understanding. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The rough cast iron projectile appears to be made in the border area. As the devils rushed towards him, Old Wang didn't hesitate to pull the strings and throw a grenade. These devils thought it was fake bullets and continued to charge with their heads down. Unexpectedly, he was lifted several times by a single thunderbolt. The devils behind were immediately frightened. Old Wang immediately dragged Su Yue towards the shantytown near the station. As long as you can run there, take advantage of the geographical advantages of shantytowns. Even if you can't run away, you can still maneuver around for a while. A stray bullet flew from the roof, and a Japanese soldier immediately fell to the ground. On the roof of the shantytown, a young man was shooting with a gun. The invading devils were immediately blocked and delayed, firing back one after another. "Where have you been, Goeri Xiaopa?" Old Wang looked at the young man on the roof and cursed. "Seeing these devils charging towards us again, I couldn't help but prepare to pull the strings." At this moment, Su Yue suddenly saw a pile of quicklime next to him. A realization surged in my mind. New insights gained, understanding the method of making poison gas bombs. Before Old Wang could pull the strings of the grenade, it was snatched away by Su Yue. He picked up a piece of rag from the ground and wrapped it in a pile of quicklime, then stuffed the grenade into it. "Xiao Su, what are you doing?" Old Wang was a bit surprised. Seeing the Japanese quickly approaching, Su Yue pulled the string without hesitation. He threw the homemade gas bomb out. The newly chased devils were all driven crazy by Old Wang's bluff. At present, he rushed over without caring. Just right to taste the first toxic gas bomb of winter. There was a dull bang. The lime powder of De Peng exploded in the group of devils. Except for 2 unlucky devils whose brains were blown apart. The remaining devils are all covering their eyes in the white lime dust. Let out a mournful scream and a heart-wrenching cough. Old Wang's eyes were almost popping out. I looked at the Japanese soldiers rolling on the ground with their faces covered in disbelief. Even the small slope responsible for blocking on the roof of the shantytown was bewildered. What is the situation? They had originally planned to take a desperate gamble. Who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, Su Yue would overturn the situation against the wind? Not waiting for the lime powder to dissipate. Su Yue shot and killed several Japanese devils who were rubbing their eyes and screaming in agony. Old Wang also quickly reacted. Save some bullets. This old guy looks greasy and bloated, but his movements are not ambiguous. Take off the bayonet and fiercely stab 2 devils to death. After grabbing all the bullets from the devil's body, throw Su Yue a .38 large cap. Let's go. Greet the guerrilla team member Xiaopa and pull Su Yue to a shantytown. Continue for a moment, waiting for the reinforcements from the Japanese to arrive. An inconspicuous shed suddenly fell into pieces. A dilapidated sidecar motorcycle carrying Su Yue and Xiaopa roared towards the distance. "Uncle Wang, how did you get this sidecar?" Xiaopa asked incredulously. "Nonsense." Old Wang was wearing a Japanese hat and driving at full speed. Upon hearing this, he gave him a contemptuous glance and said, "Uncle Wang, I've been on this station for a few years at least. These are all the assets I've saved up. Unfortunately, this site is completely abandoned," he said, looking back at the distance with a gloomy expression on the side. Su Yue's face became complicated as he listened, feeling extremely uneasy. Old Wang is building a site. I don't know how much effort it took. I don't know how much useful information has been provided. I don't even know how many comrades of our party have sacrificed. But now it's abandoned for him. The old Wang, who was driving 3 bounces, looked greasy, but his mind was delicate. After sensing Su Yue's emotions, he advised, "Comrade Xiao Su, don't have any burden. The tasks assigned by the organization are at any cost. Before coming, we were already fully prepared for sacrifice. Now Captain Lao Hong and other team members are restraining the Japanese Captain Fujiwara." Old Wang's tone was very light, but Su Yue felt very uncomfortable listening to it. He never had the intention of making others sacrifice for himself. Finally, Old Wang added, "For the revolutionary cause, we can sacrifice ourselves, as long as our sacrifice is valuable." Upon hearing Old Wang's words, Su Yue felt a surge of blood in his chest. Looking at Xiaopa, who was calmly holding onto the 3 or 8 big covers, Su Yue knew. For them, this is a common occurrence. "Uncle Wang, I'll talk about my value later." Su Yue stared at him and said, "But I promise, I will do my best." Old Wang looked at him with relief and continued to drive his triple jump. This sidecar triple bounce looks very old. Many parts make a rattling and rubbing sound, as well as an unpleasant smell of engine oil. There was a jolt on this 3-bouncer for a while. Su Yue's ubiquitous intelligence once again reminds us. You have gained insights from old motorcycles and have come to understand that the vehicle maintenance and renovation technology. All the internal structures of the entire sidecar motorcycle were clearly visible in Su Yue's mind. This kind of Japanese sidecar motorcycle is far inferior to the later Prince Harley. No matter how much Su Yue is a social animal, he also got mixed up with a BYD in his previous life. Mastering this outdated sidearm is as easy as the palm of one's hand. There are 2 box guns and 7 or 8 border area hand grenades inside the carriage. Then there are a few 38 large lids and about 20 boxes of bullets. All the wealth that old Wang has accumulated over the years. Su Yue picked up a box of bullets and took out a 38 bullet. This type 38 bullet has a long range, stable trajectory, and strong penetration. But the killing power is very poor. What are the big eyes in the front and what are the big eyes in the back? Pinching the cold bullet, Su Yue suddenly had a thought in her heart. He suddenly remembered what he had seen online in his past life, that kind of deadly dam bullet. Can you transform this bullet into a deadly dam? A realization once again surged in my heart. Obtain the Type 38 bullet and understand the method of making the darn bullet. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4 Dam Bullet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The dam bullet is a type of ammunition manufactured by John Bull Country. It is named after a local military factory called Dame near Kolkata in the Three Kingdoms region. This is a type that does not have continuity. But it has extremely high shallow killing power as an expansion-type bullet. The caliber of the bullet itself varies, and it is mostly fired from a rifle. However, the resulting wound is proportional to the caliber and is proportional to the caliber. Later, research on the military industry black technology of Mao Xiong discovered. You can use a dagger to cut a cross crack on a bullet. After the bullet hits the human body, it causes deformation of the lead core, resulting in great lethality. This is the manufacturing method of the dam bomb. But Su Yue's rebellious insight provided more than that. A set of data on modifying the dam quickly came to mind. How to deepen cracks, how to perform curved spiral cutting, and from what appropriate angle to start. Without damaging the structure of the projectile, affecting ballistic stability and range. Maximize the killing power of bullets. Even an incredible cognitive system. Give me a set of professional tools for processing dam bullets. While Su Yue was organizing and pondering, the speeding motorcycle suddenly gave a sudden jerk. Su Yue and Xiaopa were caught off guard and almost flew out of the car bucket. Old Wang also made a fuss. After jumping off the car, I checked several places and kicked the carriage several times in anger. But it couldn't ignite. Code-wise, the car has completely stalled. Old Wang was a bit furious. As for Su Yue, although he understood motorcycle modification and maintenance. But now it's useless without tools. Moreover, in the distance, the rumbling sound of the Japanese motorcycle could already be faintly heard. There's nothing we can do, we can only do it hard. Old Wang picked up the 38 big lid and put bullets into his pocket. Pointing to the nearby Chinese pine forest, he said, "Let's go and fight against the devils in that forest. Comrade Xiao Su, can you shoot? It will open." Su Yue picked up a 38 large lid and stuffed 7 or 8 boxes of bullets into his pocket. Just follow Old Wang Tu and Xiaopa into the forest. The devils riding sidecar motorcycles soon arrived at the edge of the forest. There were 7 or 8 motorcycles in total, and more than 20 devils got off and surrounded them. Lao Wang Tu and Xiaopa set up 3 or 8 large covers and nervously aimed at the distance. Su Yue took out the folding military knife he was carrying from his arms. Start modifying bullets in the same way as a dam. During the process of modifying the darn bullet, you have gained some understanding of bullet modification. During the process of modifying the darn bullet, you have gained some understanding of bullet modification. During the process of modifying the darn bullet, you have gained some understanding of bullet modification. You have successfully comprehended the damn bullet processing machine. It has to be said that one's innate intelligence is still very considerate. Relying solely on manual processing of bullets one by one is really laborious. The DARM bullet processing machine provided by the system is similar to a pencil sharpener used by elementary school students, with 3 sharp edges inside. Simply insert the bullet head and rotate it 3 times. The inner edge knife will cut qualified shooting marks. "Hey, Comrade Xiao Su, what are you doing?" Seeing Su Yue cutting bullets with a small knife, Xiaopa beside him immediately became anxious. If you destroy bullets like this, it will affect the trajectory. It is obvious that Xiaopa is also a skilled player in playing with guns. Su Yue loaded the bullets and adjusted the scale, holding the gun and aiming at the distant devils. After aiming at the 3 points and 1 line, the perception in the sea was once again touched. You have gained insights in shooting, and have come to understand long-range sniping. A strange and clear feeling surged in his heart. Su Yue suddenly felt that the 3 or 8 large lids in his hand had become an extension of his body. The devil inside the scale has been locked in by him, as if within reach. It's useless. Comrade Su. Xiaopa anxiously said on the side, the penetration of the Japanese 38th Great Wall is too strong. If you hit it, it's just a small eye. If you don't hit the center of your mouth and head, it's useless. Before he could finish speaking, Su Yue had already pulled the trigger and only heard a loud bang. The devil in the front row suddenly had a puddle of blood on his chest. Immediately afterwards, a muffled drum-like sound came from the back of the devil. A large blood hole bloomed from the back of the bowl. A large mass of visceral fragments burst out from the blood hole, sandwiched between the segmental vertebrae. Old Wan-Tu and Xiaopa's binoculars fell to the ground simultaneously. And then looked at Su Yue incredulously. The devil fell to the ground and struggled for 2 times before burping his butt. The other devils were also frightened by this terrifying shot and immediately sought cover. As for Lao Wan-Tu and Xiaopa, they still haven't recovered from the shock just now. A regular 38 bullet, slightly modified by him. How could it cause such a killing effect? Old Wang stared at him straight for a while, then raised his hand to stop Xiaopa's questioning. Shake your head. I only now understand why the party organization is giving you a death order. At this point, Old Wang's chubby face flushed with excitement. Raise the 3 or 8 large covers in your hand and say, Comrade Xiao Su, you can change the bullets for us. Can you hold on for a while longer? As long as Lao Hong and the others arrive, there will be no problem. Xiaopa beside him fired a shot and reminded him, Comrade Su, you have to stay with this method of modifying bullets. The killing power of the Japanese 38 bullets is too poor, sometimes even with several shots, one can't die. Don't worry. Su Yue quickly cut the bullet and said, afterwards, I will make a mold. In the future, just modify the bullet mold cover. He said that he had transformed more than 10 rounds of damn shells in his hand and handed them to Xiaopa and Lao Wan-Tu respectively. Xiaopa and Lao Wan-Tu immediately became energetic. Especially Old Wang, looking greasy and bloated, his marksmanship is not perfect. Change bullets and shoot into the distance, and one after another, the Japanese fall to the ground. After one of the devils was shot in the shoulder, half of his shoulder flew out. With the immense destructive power of the dam. The 2 of them killed several devils in a row. Those who are suppressed by firepower from behind dare not move forward. But after all, there are too many devils who have arrived. Relying on the advantage of having a large number of people and gradually encircling the forest. The 3 of them could only fight and retreat inward at the same time. At this moment, a burly and strong man suddenly descended from the sky. The box cannon in hand fired with a series of bangs. P.S. New book release, seeking first day data. As long as there is data, please release 20,000 words first and never break your promise. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. The Legend of the Flying Tigers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The burly man appeared almost immediately. 7 or 8 devils were instantly shocked. Su Yue could see very clearly that the burly man's movements were agile. The precise and swift marksmanship is mixed with martial arts body techniques. Not only that, this burly man has an almost instinctive intuition towards bullets. Faced with bullets fired by the Japanese, he seemed to have an instinctive intuition that he could easily avoid bullets by slightly turning his head, twisting his body, and tilting his waist. Later, the box cannon in his hand was almost at his fingertips, and the gunshot knocked him down. Upon seeing this scene, Su Yue's insight in the sea of consciousness once again stirred up. Understanding melee shooting ability, melee gun combat. This kind of melee gun fighting technique is unique to the shooting techniques of China. It is a skill that combines neijia fist and firearms. That is to say, to master this skill, one must achieve a certain level of proficiency in both internal martial arts and marksmanship. As more and more people entered the forest, the devils were caught off guard by the beating. One of the chubby men is the most attractive. So he rushed into the forest and swung out a snowflake with a big knife in his hand. Several devils were killed by the chieftain before they could react. In the blink of an eye, all the devils were eliminated. The masked man's gaze is sharp like an eagle. He casually pulled off his face scarf, revealing a dark Chinese character face. His eyes were covered in bloodstains. Old Hong. Old Wang was pleasantly surprised as he put away the .38 big lid and approached, asking, "You guys have finally come, comrades. Casualties are not serious, are they?" The man, known as Lao Hong, had a hoarse voice and said, "A few of them were injured, but they all have to withdraw completely. Fujiwara has a strong appetite for this day." After speaking, he turned his gaze to Su Yue and said, "This comrade is Comrade Su, right? I am Lao Hong, the captain of the Flying Tigers team." As he spoke, a hint of doubt flashed in Lao Hong's eyes. It is obvious that he also has great doubts about Su Yue's youth. Su Yue put down the 38th big lid. "Shake hands with him and say, 'Hello Captain Hong, just call me Xiao Su.'" Lao Hong then introduced his subordinates one by one to Su Yue. That's why Lu Han, a strong man, flipped over several Japanese corpses. I took a deep breath when I saw a ghost whose lung tube had been knocked out. "Good guy, what bullets are you using? Are you so domineering?" exclaimed the monster. "Now is not the place to talk. Pack up your things, get on your bike, and leave." Old Hong turned around and gave a command, and the team members loaded the confiscated firearms and ammunition onto the motorcycle. Riding the motorcycle was like a wild race. The Japanese brought 7 or 8 motorcycles to pursue them this time. It can be considered a bargain for them. Old Wang smiled and said, "With these motorcycles, we can also make up for the loss of the station." But Su Yue still didn't feel the same way when he heard it. It is obvious that the cost paid to build this site was significant. Even sacrificed a lot of manpower. But now it's being abandoned for him, which is a heartache for Old Wang. No matter what, one must use their intelligence to transform some weapons. Thinking of this, Su Yue made an effort to recall the guerrilla weapon information he had seen on the internet in his past life. Zazhuang Station, in the center of the Japanese garrison. Colonel Fujiwara covered his nose and frowned as he looked at the corpses on the ground. "Colonel." The military doctor approached and handed over a report. "Soldiers who died in battle were all shot in the chest. We use our Type 38 bullets. But the bullet was clearly modified with a special technique. The bullet deforms when it hits the human body, causing the wound to expand." Speaking, he took out an enamel tray. There are several deformed and twisted Type 38 bullets on the plate. Xiao Shi, a very professional transformation technique. Fujiwara disregarded the bloodstains on the bullet and picked up a deformed one. A cold light flashed in my eyes. Immediately afterwards, a mournful scream sounded. Upon hearing this, Fujiwara frowned and saw several military doctors carrying a wounded Japanese soldier on stretchers. The injured person's eyeballs have been burnt gray-white with lime, emitting a burning smell. The intense pain made the injured person feel heart-wrenching. Fujiwara furrowed his brow slightly, and he suddenly pulled out his commanding knife, stabbing the wounded man in the chest with a single blow. The injured person struggled and sprayed a stream of blood, dying on the spot. This military expert brought us a surprise as soon as he arrived. Fujiwara coldly withdrew his command knife and said, "It seems that we need to increase our encirclement efforts. When we catch this military expert, I will personally rub quicklime into his eyes." There was a hint of ferocity in Fujiwara's tone. Another stronghold of the Flying Tigers. The group rode motorcycles for half an hour before arriving at a deserted village. This village has long been uninhabited and has become a secret stronghold of the Flying Tigers. Entering the village, Su Yue was able to broaden his horizons greatly. Lu Han, who was impatient, suppressed his curiosity all the way. After landing, he urgently asked, "Brother Su, what bullet did you use to hit the Japanese?" The other team members also looked at him in surprise. After all, this terrifying bullet is the first time they've seen it in their lives. "I'm still using the 38 big lid." Su Yue took out a bullet and explained, "I was just modifying the warhead." At this point, Old Wang Tu pulled Old Hong aside, whispering the battle situation along the way. Lao Hong's eyes began to glow. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Early release of Flying Thunder. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Originally, Lao Hong felt that Su Yue was a bit young in his heart. "I can't even be considered a military expert. I even feel that the head of the headquarters is making a big deal out of nothing. We must launch an attack during the most severe period of the Japanese sweeping and blockade. The most important railway station intelligence base has been exposed. It's a completely unprofitable behavior." But now he has completely changed his mind. The poison gas bomb and the dam bomb were only adapted to local conditions by the Soviet Union and Vietnam using local methods. The improvement in the combat effectiveness of the Flying Tigers team is immediate. He walked up to Su Yue and patted his shoulder, saying, "Comrade Xiao Su, come with me for a moment." Su Yue followed Lao Hong to an ordinary family in the village. The entire village is deserted, and there is a well in the courtyard of this household that has long dried up. Su Yue followed Lao Hong down the well to the ground. After lifting a wooden board, there was a unique cave beneath the well. In this small space, there is a strong smell of engine oil emanating. Several broken guns, firearms, and half-barrel guns stood on the yellow soil wall next to them. There are also several simple and small stamping machines and grinding wheel grinders. Lao Hong reached out to light the oil lamp and lowered his voice, saying, "Comrade Xiao Su, now the Japanese are blocking this place very tightly. For now, we can only leave you to join us in guerrilla warfare. Our conditions here are relatively basic. Can you find a way to enhance our combat power without hesitation?" Su Yue said, "Captain Hong, just say what's missing right now. I can do whatever I can, and even if I can't, I have to do the reform. Enjoy yourself." Lao Hong was very satisfied with his attitude and patted him on the shoulder, saying, "Except for the 38 bullets, gas bomb production, brothers always feel that the melee firepower is not strong enough. Can you help us think of a way? Also, I know it's a bit difficult for someone to handle, we still lack heavy firepower, and once we are entangled by the enemy, it will be difficult for us to escape." Speaking of which, Lao Hong looked at him with bright eyes. Su Yue lowered his head and pondered for a moment, then casually picked up a nearby earthen spear. This kind of earthen gun is the kind of rural earthen gun that is filled with black gunpowder and used to make iron sand. It looks similar to a shotgun. The actual situation is vastly different from a 10-shot shotgun. You have gained insights from the firearm, and have come to understand the method of making Thunderbolt shotgun. After thinking about the data structure of the shotgun, Su Yue said, "Captain Hong, give me a few days. I will transform and grow 10 consecutive firearms for you," and he took out a pen and casually wrote a string of black powder formulas on the paper. 1 nitrate, 2 sulfur, 3 charcoal, add some white sugar, Big Ivan. In the process of writing the secret recipe for making new gunpowder, Su Yue's intellect began to run rapidly in his mind. You have learned the new method of making TNT explosives from the preparation of black gunpowder. TNT explosive, also known as trinitrotoluene. It is a relatively safe explosive that can withstand impact and friction, but any sudden amount of heat can cause an explosion. During World War II, it was also considered the most powerful explosive. Its power is 10 times that of black gunpowder. After scanning the production process of TNT explosives, Su Yue's insight was very considerate and he introduced a complete set of methods suitable for the current production of TNT explosives. But now, Su Yue can't use it temporarily. What he needs to solve now is the problem of guerrilla heavy firepower. This is also a problem that has always plagued the Flying Tigers. To solve this problem, the Flying Tigers even produced the kind of local cannons from the Republican era. In terms of power, it's not even as powerful as a shotgun. But Su Yue's memory quickly traced back to the battlefield of the Korean War. Those simple cannons made from gasoline barrels. A new type of artillery gradually became clear in his mind. A series of precise data is also provided in the sky-defying comprehension. This greatly enhances structural reliability and artillery accuracy. You have come to understand the production of Thunderbolt from the recollection of memories. By using the Thunderbolt data structure, your artillery technology has been improved. At the same time as comprehending the concept of artillery, Su Yue's artillery technology also improved. He is now considered a qualified gunner. The flying cannon is said to be a cannon. Essentially, it's just a gunpowder thrower. But due to its simple structure and enormous power, it was favored by the volunteer army during the Korean War. Enemies who are closer will be torn apart on the spot, while those who are farther away will be shocked to death. Although the range of the cannon will not exceed 300 meters, its accuracy is not high enough. But its huge range of killing power is enough to make up for its shortcomings. Moreover, Su Yue's rebellious intelligence also provided an improvement plan. For example, by bundling the shape of the explosive package, air resistance can be minimized to the greatest extent possible. Stable trajectory, which can increase the range to 500 meters. Captain Hong, this is the formula for new gunpowder. Su Yue handed the recipe to Captain Hong and said, when you make the gunpowder, get a few more gasoline barrels. Under our current conditions, I can only make heavy firearms into flying torpedoes, a gasoline barrel. A torpedo. What weapon is this? Lao Hong couldn't help but look surprised as he took the recipe. Anyway, the power will definitely satisfy you. Lao Hong didn't ask any more questions and crawled out of the wellhead with the recipe. Upon seeing the captain climb out, several Flying Tigers immediately gathered around. Captain, how is this little white face? Lu Han asked with a big grin, what good thing can you make of such a young and light person? The other team members all showed disapproving expressions. Lao Lu, you're missing a little white-faced person. Lao Hong said displeased and immediately looked at the team member wearing glasses next to him. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. 10 consecutive sprays. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This team member's name is Shunzi. He used to be a gun inspector at the Hanyang Arsenal. Can modify firearms and also serve as a sniper in the Flying Tigers team. He can also be considered a high-precision and cutting-edge talent in the Flying Tigers team. Shunzi picked up a dam and said, Brother Hong, I just checked it. The 38 large cap bullet was modified by him using special techniques. The trajectory is not affected, but the power has increased more than 100 times. Before, hitting the body with 38 bullets was like a small eye, coming out is still a small eye. But when this bullet hits you, it still has a small eye in the front, coming out from behind is a bowl-sized hole. What kind of organs and bones are all brought out for you? Even if you get shot, you'll still be disabled. Don't be fooled by the inconspicuous modification of this bullet. Without a precise calculation, it cannot be changed. One word, very professional. The other guerrilla fighters had their eyes lit up. Lu Han asked defiantly, Shunzi, haven't you also stayed in the arsenal? How does it compare to this little white face? Can I compare myself to others? Shunzi put away the bullet and sneered, I changed the gun, they can really make guns and cannons. That day, cows were also cows, and snails were also cows. Can you compare yourself to that big bull? Lu Han couldn't say a word when he choked. Scratching his scalp, he started laughing and laughing. This is a new type of gunpowder formula obtained by Comrade Xiao Su. Lao Hong calmly took out the explosive formula and said, we all have plenty of sulfur and saltpeter, everyone go and collect more white sugar, and also bring a few gasoline barrels over. Lao Hong said to Shunzi, Shunzi, you can go over and help him later. I want to take a look, how many surprises can this military expert bring us? The surrounding team members dispersed in a flurry. It took several days in a row, along with the help of the team member Shunzi. Su Yue finally produced several qualified Remington shotguns. Although the barrel is a bit rudimentary. But Remington never relied on precision to kill. Now is the time to test the power of this shotgun. In the corn fields outside the deserted village. Stand up a target made of corn straw. Su Yue held a shotgun and pulled the trigger fiercely. A flame spurted out. Boom. 3 targets flew up at the same time as they were hit by a single shot. These 3 targets are made of straw. But regardless of weight and density, it is no different from a real person. 3 targets were hit 7 or 8 meters before stopping. A head-sized hole was dug out from the chest of the leading dummy. The other 2 dummies were almost cut off by the waist. All members of the Flying Tigers present rubbed their eyes in disbelief. Looking at 3 pitiful target dummies. This is just hitting the target, if it hits their chest. Everyone present was too scared to think. Bang bang bang. Su Yue turned his gun and aimed it at the yellow mud wall on the side. Pull the bolt and shoot all 8 remaining shotguns in one go. A loose wall over a foot thick, separated by more than 10 meters, a hole the size of a water tank was dug out by Xiong. All members of the guerrilla team present stared at the hole in the water tank, swallowing their saliva silently. They are also seasoned veterans of the battlefield. I know what it would be like to be shot by such a shotgun at such close range. Damn it, this melee is too fierce, isn't it? With just one shot, it's like a big area. Lu Han couldn't hold back and stepped forward to grab the shotgun. Touching passionately. Immediately greeted Su Yue, Brother Su, let's have a few more bullets and have a great time. Lu Han said eagerly. Originally, Su Yingjiao's identity as an international student made him somewhat estranged from these guerrilla fighters, but everyone was a kind-hearted person who also believed in our party. After a few days, they all got together. I ran out of bullets. Su Yue shrugged regretfully and said, I worked overtime to make 5 shotguns, only about 10 bullets are fired, these 3 are enough. Old Hong happily patted his shoulder and said, how about we take a look at your thunderbolt again? Upon hearing that Lao Hong wanted to see the thunderbolt, Su Yue hesitated a bit. Brother Hong, there's a lot of noise from this flying cannon. It won't attract any devils, will it? He asked with concern. This place is far from the Japanese stronghold. Lao Hong said disapprovingly, don't worry. Don't mention your flying cannon, even mountain cannons can't startle you. You can work hard on it. Under the anticipation of the team members. Su Yue squatted in front of the gasoline barrel, first winding a few circles around the back with iron wire and hemp rope. Place the small explosive package used for ejection and pull out the lead wire. Put another large explosive bag tied up in the shape of a basketball. Then Su Yue took out a simple caliper and aimed it on the white line in the middle of the gun. The firing structure of a torpedo is very simple. But Su Yue's incredible insight was very considerate in providing data and specifications. And a set of simple caliper-type sights. This greatly enhances the precision characteristics of the torpedo. The supernatural insight in my mind jumps out again. You have gained some understanding in the production process of flying cannons. Artillery technology has been improved. Understanding the production of recoilless artillery. After reading the data derived from the comprehension, Su Yue couldn't help but take a cold breath. A recoilless gun is a gun with a recoilless body when fired. Mainly used for direct combat against armored targets, suppressing and annihilating active forces and firearms, it has made great contributions in the history of anti-tank warfare. Until the Second World War and the 1950s, recoilless artillery flourished. Full of vitality, the military equipment of various countries is very large. It was one of the main anti-tank weapons at that time. However, after the 1970s, due to the development of armor technology and the equipment of anti-tank missiles, the status and role of recoilless guns gradually fell behind. However, at present, this recoilless gun is considered a very advanced heavy weapon. Especially when dealing with the iron armored chariots of the Japanese, it's as if it's stuck in paper. Brother Su. Old Hong couldn't help but remind Su Yue that he was a bit stunned. Su Yue regained his senses and fastened the caliper sight onto the oil barrel. Glancing at several dilapidated yellow houses in the distance. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Flying Thunder, your second kick is here. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Brother Hong, are these houses unowned? After aiming, Su Yue looked at a yellow house in front of him and asked with concern. They are all unowned houses, with no residents for decades. Lao Hong urged repeatedly, even if you have a master in the future, brothers will compensate you. Su Yue was relieved to start a fire and ignite the lead wire. Then quickly ran out for more than 10 meters. This is his first time using a cannon, and if he accidentally detonates it, he will die. Under his uneasy gaze, the torpedo finally ignited the propellant. Dong! A huge smoke ring erupted from the oil barrel. The explosive package wrapped in a basketball shape was thrown out. Under Su Yue's gaze, the entire explosive package successfully landed at the designated location. My incredible intelligence not only strictly adheres to the specifications and dimensions, but also comes with a ruler and sight. This greatly improves the accuracy of the cannon. You gained an understanding of artillery during the process of testing the flying cannon. The understanding of artillery technology has been greatly improved. After a loud bang, the earthen wall in front of the team members split into pieces. A large mushroom cloud erupted from the point where the explosives landed. A few hundred meters apart, everyone felt their hearts being shaken by the shockwave. Damn it, isn't this just a minor kick? Lu Han rubbed his buzzing ears and kicked the oil bucket. Muttered, I've played a lot since I was a child. Can I play like this? After all the yellow dust and mushroom clouds in front of me have dissipated. All buildings within a radius of 20 meters have been flattened. All the yellow mud adobe walls have been crushed into dirt and debris. I'm such a bitch. Lu Han sat down on the ground. Looking straight in front of me. All the team members present were also a bit dumbfounded. Xiaopa twisted his neck with difficulty and said, Old Lu, have you ever played with such a kick? Lu Han's face turned pale as he looked at the flattened ground. Swallowed a mouthful of saliva and remained silent. Lao Hong couldn't help but give a bitter smile. They all came from mischievous behavior. Whose child hasn't played that kind of kicking before? I can turn Air Jiao into such a flying cannon, but not a single one. A group of guerrilla fighters looked at Su Yue with incorrect eyes. There's no way, there's a lack of large-scale processing equipment now. Su Yue said regretfully, I can only do this one step. The old Wang's face beside him all burst into laughter. Patted his shoulder and said, it's already good to take this step, correspondent. Send back all the new methods of gas bombs, gunpowder, bombers, and bombs to the base area. Old Wang also knows the difficulties of the base area nowadays. The new weapons developed by Su Yue not only enhance the firepower of the Flying Tigers team. For the strength of the large army in the base area, it can further enhance the boss. Speaking of the old king head who has an eye for the sky. It's a bit difficult to send out the living Su Yue at the moment. But it's still easy to send out the blueprints of these simple weapons. Due to the extremely simple production conditions of the Flying Tigers team. Even if Su Yue was poor and tossed around, there was nothing he could do. By the Nanming River. Old Wang and Captain Hong are gathering together to smoke. Captain Hong handed Old Wang a cigarette, but Old Wang refused. It's better to save some smoking. Old Wang first lit Captain Hong's cigarette, and then lit his own pipe. A mouthful of green smoke blew out and he said, the weapons made by Xiao Su have been sent back to the base area. The effect is immediate. Li Yunlong, the commander of the new 1st Regiment of the 129th Division, smashed 3 waves of encirclement with flying cannons. Lao Hong, holding a cigarette in his mouth, glanced at him and said, didn't Xiao Su mention joining the party? Don't you take a look? These days, he's been busy modifying guns and cannons, which has made his eyes turn red. Old Wang took down his pipe and smiled, I didn't even sleep well. I think Xiao Su is more of a party member than a party member. After 2 days of relaxation, let Shunzi remind him as he spoke, he picked up his pipe and took a hard suck. But you can tell, Xiao Su was very disappointed with the Kuomintang. Those who join the party should be released in advance. Lao Hong finished smoking in a few sips and threw his foot on the ground, stomping it out. I just received the news, he said. Yamazaki Ruji led 2 battalions to settle in Qiansuan. Suddenly hearing this name, Old Wang's eyes turned red. Yamazaki Ruji's military rank was lieutenant colonel, and he was also a subordinate of Fujiwara Daisuke of the Japanese troops stationed in Zazwang. It's even a butcher's knife under Fujiwara's command. Many villages in the entire Zazwang area have been slaughtered. Occupying 70%, Yamazaki Ryuji is the killer. It's a guy who specializes in doing dirty work for Fujiwara. Rao is with the composure of the old king. Upon hearing the name of this demon, my breathing became heavy. Ruji Yamazaki is not just the executioner of Fujiwara. Compared to the angry old Wang, Lao Hong appeared calm. He also helped Fujiwara search for land. Just received news from intelligence personnel that Yamazaki Ruji had placed the silver and gold bars he had plundered at the stronghold of Qiansuan, with 2 squadrons stationed. Old Wang gritted his teeth and said, it would be even better if Yamazaki, who lives a miserable life, was here. I happen to do him. Lao Hong patted his shoulder and said, let's go, we'll prepare for action the night after tomorrow. In the arms factory of the deserted village. After learning about the recent raid operation prepared by the Flying Tigers, Su Yue racked his brains again to make a silencer. Then he rubbed out his Garland sniper rifle hand again. And for the convenience of installing silencers, threaded holes are added to the muzzle. You have gained an understanding of firearm making technology during the process of making silencers. You have gained some understanding of bullet modification during the process of making a silencer. The process of transforming firearms is also a process of technological accumulation. He cannot ascend to the sky in one step. However, this actually made Su Yue feel at ease. Expect to wait for him to leave the Flying Tigers and arrive at the 8th Route base in the Taihang Mountains. It would be great to be able to rub AK and fake RPG by hand. Lao Hong picked up the box cannon in his hand and fired a shot into the distance. Only a few muffled noises were heard, and a hole was drilled on the target not far away. Not bad, Lao Hong said with satisfaction. With the addition of a silencer, it doesn't even make a sound when killing people. He turned the box cannon and said, I feel like the gun body is also quite stable. The box gun has a large payload and significant killing power. But the biggest flaw is that the muzzle easily jumps up during shooting. This seriously affects shooting. Now Su Yue has installed a special muffler, which not only reduces flames and sounds, but also balances the problem of box cannon jumping through counterweights. Several team members acting as snipers on the side. Excitedly holding the 3 or 8 large covers with added silencers. Due to the shameful killing power of bullets with 38 large caps. So the team members have never looked up to this type of firearm. But after being produced by the Soviet Union, the disadvantage of the 38th great cap became an advantage. Now with the installation of a silencer, the 38th great cap immediately turns into an excellent sniper rifle. However, several team members coveted the Garland sniper rifle in Su Yue's hands. But due to the equipment being too rudimentary, Su Yue put in a lot of effort to use those outdated equipment to manually rub a Garland sniper. Old Hong was still understanding and scolded, don't just stare like a cow's egg. Everyone will have good guys in the future. Xiao Su, keep this semi-automatic for your own defense. Hong, I'll go with you guys. Su Yue touched the brand new firearm and immediately said. Xiao Su, you have to think carefully. Old Hong and Old Wang were somewhat surprised. I've figured it out. Su Yue shook his head and said, the Japanese are blocking it too tightly now, fighting can happen at any time, I have to be prepared for it. Lao Hong and Lao Wang too exchanged a glance. Lao Hong pondered for a moment and said, okay, Comrade Su Yue, you should be a sniper in the rear. You have all the shooting of the torpedo. Also, even if we finish shooting, you are not allowed to engage in close combat. Remember. Remember. Su Yue immediately saluted solemnly. Lao Hong waved his hand and said, then let's go. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Flying Thunder, unable to describe the wind of that cannon. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Before the Flying Tigers attacked the Japanese base. First attacked the Puppet Army base in Xiaoxizhuang near Qinsuan. The Puppet Army in Xiaoxizhuang belonged to Qi Shiyuan's pacification army and were staunch traitors. He often clashed with the 8th Route Army and is now being used as cannon fodder and shield by the Japanese. When lurking near Xiaoxizhuang, Su Yue found a highly decaying corpse in the ditch. It appears to be a nearby puppet army, and they are dying with their eyes closed. Pooh! Old Hong spat disgustedly on the body of the puppet army. But seeing the foul-smelling wounds on the puppet army's body. However, Su Yue's eyes lit up, and his rebellious insight once again gave rise to enlightenment. You have come to understand the creation of biochemical bullets from highly corrupt corpses. Su Yue carefully took out a small container from her body. Take out some rotten liquid from the wound of the corpse again. Just soak the bullet tip inside. The team members behind the scenes were curious about what Su Yue wanted to do. But it can be certain that Su Yue is uneasy and kind-hearted towards the Japanese. So they all imitated Su Yue in a certain way. After collecting liquid from the corpse, the bullets were soaked in it one after another. Thanks to the function of the silencer. Several peripheral puppet troops were killed before they could react. The captain of the puppet army is babbling to the radio inside the base. Before he could react, he was captured alive by Lao Hong. after plundering the puppet army base. In addition to firearms and ammunition, Lao Hong also found hundreds of dollars in the ocean and about 10 gold bars. I have made a small fortune. After reviewing the report from the leader of the puppet army, Shunzi said, Captain, I have asked clearly. Ryuji Yamazaki just returned to Fujiwara yesterday to report, Chien village is currently stationed with 2 squadrons of Japanese soldiers. In addition to the standard light and heavy machine guns, there are also mountain cannons and mortars. The most deadly thing is to bury many landmines around. After hearing Shunzi finish his sentence, Lao Hong's face became complicated. The Flying Tigers have no method of clearing landmines. I can't go through it so hard. At this thought, the team members present, including Lao Hong, turned their attention to Su Yue. Su Yue thought for a moment and reached out to pick up the German radio that the puppet captain had just used to listen to. Carefully calculate the structural composition inside. You have some understanding of the manufacturing technology of electronic devices. You learn from German radios to make metal detectors. Nowadays, the Japanese look down upon the backwardness of China. So whether it's landmines or tanks, they are very simple and fragile. Landmines are very common pressure grenades. There is no reason not to be detected by the detector he rubbed out with the radio. Quickly scan the structure of the radio. After confirming that a landmine detector can be produced, Su Yue said, I can use this thing to make a landmine detector. With this detector, you can also detect gold and silver objects buried by the Japanese. But I still need to make some insurance sales for landmines. That's good. Old Hongdun was overjoyed and said, you prepare immediately. Tonight, take advantage of the night to clear the mine. The night is very dark, and the dew is heavy. Outside the headquarters of the Chinsuan Devils, Captain Lao Hong and his team members held their hearts taut as they watched Su Yue clear the mines in the minefield. Su Yue, lying on the ground, was wearing a homemade camouflage suit. Carrying a radio behind him and holding a metal ring with a probe in his hand. After hearing feedback noise coming from the radio, he skillfully inserted the last safety pin into the safety hole of the detonator. The Flying Tigers behind them were all in a cold sweat. Before my eyes were densely packed with landmines. This is really risking one's life. Wipe the cold sweat off your forehead. Su Yue breathed a complete sigh of relief. He once again touched his understanding in the sea of consciousness. You gain insights from the process of mine clearance. The blasting technology and mine clearance technology have been improved starting from the first landmine he laid. In the sea of understanding, the ability to defy the heavens has never ceased. Detect the last landmine and skillfully insert the safety pin. Both blasting and mine clearance have been elevated to the extreme. In addition, there has been a great improvement in the operation of electronic device manufacturing. The greater unexpected gain was the improvement of his camouflage and lurking ability. It's okay, brother Hong. Su Yue gestured to old Hong in the distance. Then he made a few more forceful jumps in several places where landmines were buried. Lao Hong and the team members finally breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you for your hard work, brother. Lao Hong quickly helped Su Yue remove the mine detector and said, set up the artillery array, the responsibility of blocking the reinforcements will be entrusted to you. The other team members, come with me. He pulled out the box cannon and swung it suddenly, up. The 38th cover, which was silenced by a silencer to eliminate flames and sounds, quickly opened fire. The few devils on the sentry post had not yet reacted when they fell off the wall. Due to the effect of the muffler, the Japanese did not react immediately. The team members quickly occupied the high ground. Start shooting and killing one by one, and before the devils react, they are shot and killed one by one. Lao Hong was very precise and unethical, and threw a few gas bombs towards the station. Clouds of white mist burst out. Immediately, a large group of newly escaped devils covered their eyes and fell to the ground rolling around. Old Hong, Lu Han, and Tian Liuzi, several experts proficient in close combat, quickly flew down. Pick up the shotgun and start clearing soldiers one by one. After a few gunshots, the devils who had been sprayed were unexpectedly thrown into the air. After landing, there was no movement. Taking advantage of Lao Hong's intense fighting, Su Yue, carrying a bag of landmines, quietly arrived at the road behind the base. After digging a pit and burying landmines, remove the insurance pins one by one. This road was specifically used by the Japanese to transport supplies, so no landmines were planted. According to intelligence provided by the puppet army, Ryuji Yamazaki is not stationed. After burying the landmines, Su Yue dragged 3 gasoline barrels over. These 3 oil drums are all torpedo barrels that he has modified and polished with precise data. Fill the packaging of explosives used for ejection. Quietly waiting for the Japanese to rush over. Sure enough, just as Lao Hong was leading his team to clear the troops, the roar of the truck rang out, and a military truck rushed along the road. From behind came the hurried footsteps of the Japanese army. Dong! The landmines planted by Su Yue were triggered by the wheels. The front of the car suddenly tilted upwards, and more than 10 devils fell from behind with a clattering sound. Half of the front of the car was blown to pieces. The followed-up devils immediately squeezed into a big lump. If we don't pick up such a big bargain, it would be too much of a loss. Su Yue quickly ran back to the side of the torpedo and adjusted the angle slightly. Targeted the group of Japanese who were squeezed into knots. Making a cannon is not so complicated. The real trouble is still being able to adjust the base and elevation angle, so Su Yue specially made an adjustable base. After aiming with a caliper sight, Su Yue decisively lit the fuse. You have gained an understanding of artillery while manipulating the flying cannon, and your artillery operations has been improved. Pass. Pass. After 2 dull kicks, 2 bundled explosive packs fell evenly among the group of devils. I can't describe the charm of this cannon Qingming outing in happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. The Dama Bomb with Additives. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Thunder strikes and the earth shakes. 7 or 8 devils were blasted into scattered meat sauce by explosives. After the explosion, the 7 orifices simultaneously spewed blood outwards from a group of devils. Even the Japanese who came to reinforce were completely overwhelmed by the explosion. Even Lao Hong and Lu Han, who had just finished clearing the troops at the station. I was completely dumbfounded when I saw this scene. Although they had already seen Su Yue operating torpedoes to demolish thatched houses to the ground. But in a dense crowd, such a shocking killing effect is still visible for the first time. I'm such a bitch. Lu Han glared at a pair of bull eyes and said, "Comrade Xiao Su, are you still not human?" At this moment, Su Yue once again manipulated the cannon. Fired 2 cannons at the panicked group of Japanese devils. You have gained an understanding of artillery while manipulating the flying cannon, and your artillery operations has been improved. The terrifying scope of destruction has reappeared before. The Japanese were once again knocked over in a large area. Su Yue couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. Undoubtedly, he was a notorious heartless cannon in the Liberation War. Okay. Old Hong, who had reacted, shouted loudly, "Su Yue, come and find the gold bar quickly. Hand over the task of blocking to Lu Han and Liuzi." Su Yue Kai returned to his base. In the compound, the team members are risking their lives to load all weapons and ammunition into the truck. Those mountain cannons and mortars that cannot be loaded onto vehicles. Then Shunzi, holding a wrench, shamelessly removed key parts and loaded them onto the vehicle. Su Yue quickly fitted the metal detector. After sliding around the courtyard with a metal coil in hand. Quickly find an underground secret room in the corner of the wall. A dozen or so large wooden boxes filled with silver coins and gold bars. Some even snatched gold and silver jewelry. After loading all these gold bars and silver coins onto the truck, the whole truck was completely packed. In the end, even the buried landmines were swept away. Look at the whole vehicle full of equipment in front of us, all team members, including Lao Hong. There is a feeling of dreaming. All along, their flying tigers have been slandered by the Japanese and the nationalist army, defamating them for sneaking around. It's no different from the street thieves who wander around like thugs and thugs. Over time, even the people in the base areas were affected and not taken seriously. I think they are just suffering from scabies. But who knows the danger and casualties they face while cruising through the cracks of the Japanese. If it were in the past, let alone attacking a base of this scale. He is fighting guerrillas and shooting black guns nearby. It will also bring great casualties and threats to the flying tigers. But now, only a few weapons have been modified by Su Yue. They took the initiative to launch an attack and confronted the well-equipped Devil's Head. On, surprisingly, we can still win more with less. Who dares to say we are guerrillas in the future? We'll be sneaking around. Lu Han held a crooked handle and shouted loudly, put it in the National Army, don't even think of capturing the Japanese garrison of these 2 battalions in a single regiment. Now that we only have a few members in the Flying Tigers team, we have taken down this base. Now even the transport vehicle has been taken. Shunzi also excitedly patted the carriage and said, "All right, if you want to go back, go back." Lao Hong waved his hand and shouted in a broken voice, "Shunzi, 2 congratulations, you 2 can drive, get a few more barrels of gasoline and go back." Damn it. The team members roared and began to move things one after another. "Captain, what will you do?" Shunzi sat in the driver's seat. "I have to wait a moment." Lao Hong pulled out the box cannon with a heavy face and said, "If we don't take out Yamazaki, we'll be halfway through this task." As he spoke, he turned to Su Yue and said, "Xiao Su, how are you? Are you okay?" "No problem." Su Yue shook his shoulder with the Garland sniper rifle. After all the team members have evacuated, leave behind a sidecar motorcycle. Lao Hong led Su Yue and several other team members with good marksmanship. Arrive in the grass behind the base. "Xiao Su, you worked hard this time, but if you don't take down Yamazaki, this mission is equivalent to half failure." Lao Hong calmly put his gun on the brim of his hat and said, "What kind of person is Yamazaki?" Su Yue adjusted his scale and couldn't help but ask. "This mountain is very vicious." With Lao Hong's composure, he couldn't help but show a look of hatred. The loss of the base is so severe, with his temperament, he will definitely retaliate against those innocent civilians. After listening to Lao Hong's introduction to Yamazaki, Su Yue also felt angry and said, "This Yamazaki is nothing but an imperial soldier, he's just a beast. I must kill him today." As he spoke, he loaded several bullets soaked in corpse fluid into his chamber. Under the quiet and pitch-black night sky, the roar of the sidecar motorcycle rang out. Yamazaki Ruji sat on a sidecar motorcycle and rushed back in flames. You should know, on the battlefield of Chinsuan, not only are there 2 elite squadrons stationed, still storing all his and Fujiwara's wealth and lives. In the football chicken country, class rigidity is very severe. The only way for ordinary people to cross social classes is to join the army. Although he and Fujiwara became lieutenant colonels based on their military achievements. But after all, it was from the civilian class. He comes from a different samurai family than Nobuyuki Sakata. So Sakata Nobuyasu was able to command the elite of the Japanese army and drive the elite of the nationalist army to flee. Getting promoted and wealthy is like riding a rocket. They can only stay here. Commander-in-chief of a group of second- and third-rate puppet troops and guerrilla forces to mediate. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4 to April 6.